Well, welcome to another episode of The Minority Voice. I'm your host, Jeff Vega. And don't forget, I need you to support this channel. And one of the things you can do is subscribe. And that's the most important thing as we build these numbers. That being said, hey, Dave, let me ask you. Today's episode, we're going to talk about loving America and an interview that was done on the campus of Georgetown University. Let me ask you, when you were going to school in California, Dave, at Pasadena, did they love America? Was there any kind of sentiment, anti-America or whatever?
No, it was relatively neutral. People do their own thing, I guess. I mean, at least not that time. It wasn't anti-America. It might be a little more now.
Okay, well, that being said, I don't know about you folks, but I love America with its flaws and everything. And I will always say I love America with all its flaws. And I'm the kind of guy that looks at it from a positive perspective. We got scars, and that's a reality of life. But I want to show you this video of these college students that were interviewed, and they were asked the question if they love America, or is America a good country? So, David, if you would, put that on.
Are you proud to be an American?
No. I feel embarrassed to be an American every day.
Not really in this climate. No, I'm a black person. There's oppression that comes with that.
Not most of the time. I think sometimes it's just a little embarrassing.
No. What is there to be proud about if you're black and being because it's just it's still a lot of stuff that goes on for black people.
I think most of the time, no. At least over the past 4 years, it's been tricky to, love to be an American.
So, as you can see here, these college students are not too fond of America. They're ashamed of America. And, I find it ironic. Okay, here you're going to a school that, I don't know, costs about $70,000 a year to go to. And I don't really think you're suffering, and I don't know if you can afford to go to a university that costs $75,000. I think you're doing pretty good, or at least your family has done very well. And so if you look at America, I don't know, you'd have to have some good outlooks about it. But it's interesting to note, as a Hispanic American, and I would tell you, I've experienced things that I thought were racist, but I've never considered myself a victim, and I find it interesting, to say the least, that if you notice these African American young ladies, they said, well, being black, they've experienced it, and what I've gathered here, seeing this, is if you're fed this victimhood, you're going to believe it. And one of the things that happens too is when you take on this victimhood mentality, in essence what you do is you limited your potential because you're stuck on that. And I will tell you, my grandfather, and my dad, picked vegetables. They were migrant workers. And let me ask you, Dave, have you ever picked vegetables?
Not for a living, no. Maybe one or two.
Okay.
Like apple orchard, maybe.
All right. So
not like our ancestors did.
So, do you feel that you've been oppressed?
No, not at all.
And you know what? The interesting thing is, friends. Yeah, my grandfather, picked produce. My dad did a little bit too, and I never did. Like David said, I picked it for my own personal enjoyment. But that's progress or progression in your lineage, if you will, where you try to do better for the next generation. And Dave, I don't think you're ever going to pick produce for a living.
You made me lay bricks and cement. And
okay. Yeah.
plethora of other things, drywall, electric, you name it. But no, not pick vegetables.
And you know the interesting thing about that, my friends, 50 years ago when I was a kid, there was the thing about, the Hispanic community, the Mexican community. That's what we were perceived as, migrant workers. And 50 years later, guess what? We're not perceived that way. We're doing the concrete work, we're doing the landscaping out there, and we're not viewed that way. So we have evolved, if you will, from that stage of perception, and as a result, at least my family, my heritage, they won't be doing that. But let me show you another individual who has a different take on being an American. And for those of you who are into sports, if you remember a player named Ozzie Guillen, he was a shortstop, and also he was an all-star shortstop. And matter of fact, I kind of disliked him because he was a thorn in the flesh of a side, whatever, to the Detroit Tigers. And he was also a baseball manager too. But check out this video of an interview that he did. So David, play this video.
You became an American citizen. You were born in Venezuela, and what this country means to you. And it was, got the date right here, January of 2006. That's when you became an American citizen. How about this day? What did that mean to you that day?
Special. People, they don't know how hard that is. How many people die, how many people open the thing, how many people want to be American. It's a very honor for me to do that.
Yeah, you're really emotional right now. Why are you so emotional and tearing up out in this?
I don't know. Opportunities, man. Opportunity opened the door for me and being great. I've been living in this country for a long time, giving my family a great cause and open the door for them to be who they are.
You didn't know that video was coming. Maybe that caught you by surprise.
Maybe that was.
Yeah.
It was funny, but I don't cry that often. I'm a very tough guy, but seeing that, I know how that means to me and my family.
Yes.
Friends, I don't know about you, but I kind of felt for him because, I mean, here's a guy who came from Venezuela, and he knew and he knows what his country was all about. And you could see in his voice, here's a manly man, yet, he was breaking up because of how much he loved this country and what it did for him and has done for him. And he couldn't contain himself, if you will, because of that, because of how appreciative he was of what this country provided for him. And it's interesting to note, too, that this guy who interviewed him, he didn't get it. He had no clue on what it meant to be an American and being blessed to be born here. It's like, and I've heard some people say, is that if you're born in America, you hit the lottery. And so this guy, he didn't get it. And, I won't fault him too much, but the reality is, I think a lot of Americans feel the same way. They don't understand what it means to really be an American. And I think that's something that is really lost. And if we're gonna get it back, one of the things we have to realize is how precious this country is. And until we do, we're going to take the mindset of these college kids, and it won't, America as we know it, end well with that mindset. But that being said, too, in closing, so when you think about these migrants coming in, understand that they really truly have an appreciation for this country, and I actually think they potentially could be the road back to America becoming a nation that individuals love it. And that being said, until next time, Joshua 24:15.